Hi friends, I hope you all had a great Christmas. Today, I've got a lore recap of 2023 for you, so you can catch up on the story of this year in Apex Legends. So, Apex Legends lore. It was in full swing at the start of 2023 after the introduction of Broken Moon to the Apex games, with the Syndicate and Eduardo Silva stepping in with the excuse that the Apex games would save the sorry state of the moon Clio on the planet Boreas, which also happens to be the home planet to Sia and the new legend at that time, Catalyst. The start of 2023 saw Catalyst settling nicely into the Apex games. Not everyone was happy with the Syndicate bringing the games to the moon of Boreas though. This led to protests against it, and in particular against Sia because he was the face of bringing the games to Boreas, and that meant Sia got the brunt of the blame, meaning the start of 2023 was a hard time for Sia. Sadly for Sia, things went further downhill when his parents disappeared. It turns out protesters had been harassing them. When Sia eventually finds them, they have a face-to-face and a heart-to-heart, and unfortunately, it leads to them falling out with Sia and he has to leave. There is some solace for Sia though. He does make peace with Catalyst after she realizes he was just trying to do his best to help Boreas. That's not the only story though. Early on in 2023, we saw Bloodhound and Fuse have a close moment together while on a hunt, a moment that slightly changes the dynamic of their relationship into something more. As we move through 2023, Season 16 kicks off and the lore takes a step forward towards the anniversary of the Apex games. We get to see Mirage and Gibraltar pop up to save someone's life while Gibraltar's on duty for SARS. It turns out the person they save is Michael, Nicholas's son. If you don't know, Nicholas is Gibraltar's ex-boyfriend. Luckily for Michael, Gibraltar turns up with Mirage and they manage to save his life. Not only that, but Michael asks Gibraltar not to tell his father, to which Gibraltar, being the legend that he is, agrees. We also get a touching moment between Vantage and Echo when she goes to a zoo. She finds other bats in the zoo and feels like it's time to let Echo live with its own kind. Just when she walks away thinking she's lost her closest friend, Echo turns up again, not wanting to leave Vantage. It shows that Echo and Vantage's bond is real. The next story we see is Ash. She has a flashback mid-game that leads to her blacking out and visualizing the time that Newton was clearing out some of the old stuff he had, and ended up gifting Ash a pair of nunchucks he had. It turns out Ash had actually inspired Newton to buy those nunchucks, and those would then eventually become Ash's heirloom, a small symbol that perhaps Ash really did care about Newton. While all of this is going on, we see Lifeline start her investigations into Eduardo Silva. She ends up teaming with Mad Maggie, but that requires breaking Mad Maggie out of jail, something Lifeline sees as a necessary evil. Towards the end of Season 16, we also see Ramparts run into an old rival, Francis, part of Big Sister's gang. Francis, Big Sister and the rest of the gang are actually responsible for the creation and introduction of the Nemesis Burst AR into the Apex games, which of course would be the new weapon for Season 17. Francis is there with an offer for Rampart. They want Rampart to rejoin Big Sister's crew. Of course, Rampart rejects that notion. Don't forget, they are the ones that burnt down Rampart's original shop on Gaia. And this leads us into the lore of Season 17 and the introduction of billionaire August Brinkman, otherwise known as Ballistic, a former Thunderdome game celebrity hero. He was a show-off that ruled the arenas until his showboating went wrong and his teammate and brother-in-law lost his life as a result. This led to August Brinkman spiraling into a depression where he neglected his wife and his son, and ultimately leaving the Thunderdome games to wallow in his own self-pity but in his billionaire mansion. And he would continue in this rut until he saw his son was about to qualify for the Apex games on TV. Suddenly, Ballistic's fatherly instincts kicked in. He battles into Eduardo Silva's office to make him an offer he can't refuse. Ballistic will join the Apex games in place of his son, bringing back the good old days to the Apex games and saving his son from the deathly feats of the Apex games. Of course, to the dismay of his own son. Of course, around this time we also see Eduardo Silva's master plan starting to take action, and this all starts with a sinister conversation he has in a one-to-one with Ballistic. A conversation that leaves even Ballistic himself slightly worried about what Eduardo Silva's up to. For Eduardo though, that whole conversation is about motivation to carry out his master plan. In parallel to this, Lifeline's investigation into Eduardo Silva continues, and it takes its next step. She heads to Salvo with Mad Maggie and Loba to find out what Duardo's been up to. With the help of one of Mad Maggie's old crew, it leads them to a Hammond facility. They break in to find what's inside. It turns out it's a production facility, and Lifeline uses a USB from Crypto to steal data from the systems, as she learns there's a lot of other similar facilities across the Outlands. At the same time, Loba has ventured off on her own, and after making her way through a bit of an assault course using her parkour skills, she eventually finds her way to a room that looks oddly familiar to the one she found under Skulltown. This time the holder for Revenant's source code is empty, but she does find one of Revenant's eyes on the ground. Unfortunately, her investigation triggers some alarms to set off, and this then triggers the defense system of the facility, meaning all three have to fight off spectres as they make their escape. Luckily, Valkyrie is on hand to give them a lift out of there. Stepping into season 18, we see Duardo's plan take further shape, and we see Revenant Reborn is slowly morphing. And this leads to him seeing visions of Loba and Crypto, among other things. You see that eye Loba had found? It turns out she's taken it to Crypto to find out what's going on, but Revenant can see everything, and this leads to the Revenants confronting Crypto. Luckily for Crypto though, Mad Maggie, Lifeline and Loba all return, and they end up discussing with Revenant what's going on. As it turns out, he's not too aware of what's going on either, but somehow it all seems to fit into Duardo's plan. As part of this, they decide to break into a facility in an attempt to secure Revenant's source code. Initially, they try to do it in a covert way. It goes slightly wrong though when the receptionist recognizes Lifeline from her fame in the band Flyer Liars. This leads to them triggering the security alarm, which means the Legends have to fight off a bunch of defensive mechanisms, including some rather large robots. In the end though, they are able to secure the source code. Everyone apart from Loba wants to destroy the source code. Loba on the other hand, she wants to keep it alive, with her logic being that Revenant has to suffer for eternity. Sadly, that all goes out the window though when Duardo himself turns up and uses Loba's own black market to steal the source code. Now while all of this is happening, we also get to see Fuse and Bloodhound share another moment. This time is Bloodhound gifting Fuse a guitar. Of course this later becomes Fuse's heirloom, and also cements Bloodhound and Fuse's close relationship. The season closes out with Lifeline giving Octane a rabbit's foot keychain to symbolize his beloved pet Navi. Unbeknown to Octane though, it contains a little tracker inside of it, something Lifeline would later use to her advantage. Now the recent events have taken their toll on Loba, who's struggling mentally over what to do about Revenant. Eventually though, when Lifeline pops in saying she's got a location on Duardo, Loba agrees to go with her. Together with Mad Maggie, they break into another facility. Loba, Lifeline and the crew, including Revenant, break in successfully, and they even are able to locate the source code. While Loba's trying to break through the protective glass around the source code to destroy it, Duardo Silver himself is taking a more subtle approach. He is attempting to talk round Revenant to his side, part of his master plan. It almost works in fact. Revenant does have a change of heart. Why destroy his source code when he can just control it, along with his entire Revenant army? That's when things go wrong though. Duardo's plan gets out of hand. Instead of Duardo having full control over Revenant and all of his simulacrum skins, Revenant himself takes control. One of his simulacrum shells kills Duardo, and they chase Loba, Maggie and Lifeline. Luckily though, the three Legends are able to escape, again thanks to the help of Valkyrie waiting by in her dropship. While escaping, they crash onto Stormpoint as Revenant's army descends on the Outlands. Of course, Octane is still dismayed at what's happened to his father. However, the Legends are able to battle through Stormpoint and Revenant's army, and with the help of Crypto, thanks to him securing them a ride out of there, they're able to escape. But not before Loba has a big showdown with Revenant. She manages to kill him, but of course now Revenant has full control over all of his shells. Killing one means nothing. Luckily though, all of the Legends are able to escape. However, things are not looking good for the Outlands. And that brings us up to the lore of today. I hope this lore recap was useful for you, and now you're fully up to speed with the story of Apex Legends. And maybe there are just a few things in here that you forgot happened in 2023. So hopefully it was interesting for you. Don't forget to keep a lookout for Sunday's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you later.